Hi, welcome to Bake to the Future, the show where we examine what is happening in the baking industry with a future-focused lens. I'm Katie Joel, and today we're talking about the ABA Fly-In and Policy Summit being held this November 13th to 15th here in Washington, D.C. I'm talking with Ahmet Hepdogan, Vice President of Procurement and Risk Management with Dawn Global Foods, and our very own Lee Sanders, ABA's Senior Vice President, Government Relations and Public Affairs. Thank you, guys.
Hey, thanks, Katie.
The reason I have Ahmet on the show is because we're talking about a fly-in. He recently attended our Farm Bill fly-in in July, and a little bit of a preview for what's to come in November is ABA is bringing all of the wholesale and retail bakery organizations together to voice our shared concern with lawmakers in Washington, D.C. And by joining forces with the Retail Bakers of America and the American Society of Baking, this policy summit and fly-in will include wholesale bakers of all sizes and product types from across the country. So we're going to talk a little bit about fly-ins and what that term means and what it means to our members. But first, Ahmet, I don't know if you've listened to the podcast, but I didn't warn you that we always have a very hard question to start the podcast. And what is your favorite baked good?
I'm going to always have to default to croissants.
Okay.
I cannot get enough of them. I have seen very different versions, Katie, before, in the US or, throughout travels around the world. It is my absolute favorite thing.
Awesome. I love all the butter and croissants. And Lee, I don't know if we've ever asked you your favorite baked good. You've been on the show many times, but why don't we clear the air?
Well, I love all baked goods, of course, but I've got a savory and then a sweet favorite. So my savory favorite is pumpernickel and rye bread. Mm-hmm. Wonderful for sandwiches and for toast. And then I love a chocolate glazed donut.
Oh, that sounds good.
Can't beat that.
No, you can't go wrong. I mean, honestly, there's never a wrong answer to any of these questions, but I always like to ask. And so, Ahmet, you're new to the show, and I do always love to hear people's origin stories and how they got into the baking industry. So why don't you give us a few-minute tale of your journey to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for having me on this show. Really appreciate it. My background is mostly in commodities, ingredient procurement, and I've been actually in the bakery industry for a long time, and now under the Dawn brand, of course. But over the years, certainly came very much a member of ABA, worked with the technical side of ABA over the years, and attended my first conference just recently in March when it was held in Florida. So that was great. And the fly-in was it just made sense. I wanted to actually do more about a few of the topics that is very relevant to bakers today, and particularly around modernization of the sugar policy and program. And I thought this was just a good idea to get reacquainted with ABA, which I'm really, really happy for.
And thank you for that. And before we start talking more about the fall fly-in, I want to get your understanding of, we use the word, in DC, we use the word fly-in and the term fly-in all the time. And it didn't dawn upon me until recently that those outside of the Beltway might have no idea what that term actually means. Mm-hmm. So from your perspective, what does the event or word fly-in mean to you?
Well, it used to mean, before the fly-in, just flying into an airport or some destination. And after the ABA, I would say definitively a different meaning of it now, especially with the efforts that Lee and I were a part of together. And the meaning of it is much bigger now than prior.
And what is that meaning?
I think that it is definitively an effort. Certainly, it may involve flying in. It may involve driving in, depending on what vehicle you're taking. But I think that the overall effort was just very well organized for us to be able to all just gather together, prepare our thoughts, make sure that we understand what we're going to be asking our friends at the Capitol Hill, and ultimately really unite under some of the major issues that are relevant for bakers today. So that's the refined definition of fly-in for me.
Awesome. And Lee, so you've done a few fly-ins in your nearly 30 years at ABA. Could you talk to me about how ABA runs fly-ins, and kind of, maybe, since I want this to be a bit of a primer and a bit behind the scenes of what a fly-in is and what it means to our members, maybe you could kind of break it down and what is expected of our members, what we would like to see as an organization with our partners, and kind of what do members do? What do they need to be prepared for? Do we just ship them up to the Hill and tell them good luck, go talk to some senators and representatives, or kind of what's the process?
That's a great question, Katie. And there's so much that goes into these fly-ins. And we talk about them months in advance. So our November event is well planned by the government relations team. The details are in place, just as it was for the Farm Bill fly-in. And so what is expected of our members? We encourage them to come and engage and participate. We prepare them with talking points and background materials before they come to town, so that they can, that's an opportunity if they're flying in to have a little bit of airplane reading. And then when they come to town, we have another briefing, just to make sure there are not any other questions, there's anything else, any other aspects of the issues that we're talking about that maybe we missed that would be important for us to include in all of our group meetings. And then we are very strategic in the way we organize the meeting groups to make sure we have a good mix of bakers and suppliers. And because, we're so lucky, our industry, we're everywhere. We're in every state and almost every district. That gives us entree into these offices when we go to the Hill. ABA has Bakers Enrich. It's a wonderful resource, and that's just been refreshed. So we'll have that for November. That has our economic footprint in every state and district. We also have that on a state level, which is going to be very helpful for our state platform. But for our November fly-in, being able to talk about, here how many skilled workers that we have in your state. Here's how many skilled workers we have in your district. Here's the economic impact in your state or district. Here's the tax revenue in your state or district. Being able to talk about those things really makes an impression. It makes us a powerhouse. And then each respective company is able to talk about their representation for that congressional district or state. And so talking about that, and then, of course, talking about the issues and, having our asks of members of Congress, whatever the issue may be, is all decided in advance. And we are basing that on feedback from our members on consensus positions that have been set in advance. All of that is important. So we give everyone the tools they need. We give them the training that they want. For smaller fly-ins like the Farm Bill fly-in, we were able to have an ABA staff person in each group. So to help kick off the meeting and then hand it over to the members, because, they hear from us all the time. We're up there all the time talking. And so, but what really impresses them is to hear from companies that have workers in their state, workers that also live in their districts and state. And so for our companies to be able to talk about how these issues impact their business, their bottom line, their ability, the processes that they use, that is powerful. And so every time we go up, regardless of whether it's Farm Bill and commodity issues, whether it's workforce issues or technical issues, we're able to come from a position of unity from the members, and then really being able to talk about the kind of solutions that we're seeking and how members of Congress can help us.
That's right. And Ahmet, you guys are listening, so you can't see him nodding along. So it sounds like, Ahmet, you agree with what Lee was saying. And so, why should members, why should you take time from your schedule, running a business, running a department, buying commodities, buying ingredients, all of that? Why is it important to take time from your schedule to spend a few days in DC with us?
Yes, such a good question, Katie. So I think it's very simple, right? Ultimately, if you really want change, and if you want that change to be impactful, positive impact on your business, positive impact on your day-to-day work, etc., that you do, you ultimately need to take the seat, and you need to really just roll up the sleeves and get going, just like anything else in life. And when you're partnered with ABA, when you're partnered with the members, you're sitting with individuals that are at similar ranks, challenged with similar issues. You don't have to explain yourself too much. Everybody is already pre-briefed, like Lee mentioned. Really, really great organized fashion. And also the briefing in the morning, which really helps with overall alignment with all members sharing their insights about the topic at hand. And the one that I've mentioned is just one of the four topics that we were really covering actually on the Hill that day. So the why should be very simple. If you really care about a topic and if you really want change to ultimately happen, you really do need to get involved at some point. And you need to make sure that others like you are gathered around trying to find a solution that will work for the industry. So, really, in conclusion, it's been a fantastic journey for me when I think about the whole experience of how it went from intimidating to go into DC to talk to lawmakers. Really stressful when you really think about it, right? Because you only see them either on a ballot or you see them potentially on TV or maybe your devices. To make that into a real life, in person, you're meeting with various different representatives, like Lee mentioned earlier, to actually be there, it really calmed us down. We were very worried not to say the wrong thing in the room, or am I wearing the right clothing, or am I actually saying the right words here? To fast forward, by the time we were in our second or third meeting, we were just relaxed as a group. We were on point on topics that we wanted to cover. We each had a role, especially after the first meeting was over. We all knew where everybody's strengths were and what order we wanted to go in second and third meetings that we had on our calendar. So once you figure out that dynamics, Katie, the rest is very simple. It is no longer an intimidating task ahead of you. It's one that you're finally able to convert your passion about a topic into action about that topic, which is really, really good.
Well, that's awesome. I love that. Thank you. Lee, what do you have to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that we all possess is our passion for the industry. And so that really shows through when you go up to the Hill and you're talking to these members and conveying, our important messages. And I think, the other part of your question you had for me, Katie, was about what should our partners expect in November? And so this is so exciting that we're having a fly-in with our partners, the American Society of Baking and the Retail Bakers of America. We have never done that before. And so it's going to bring in different types of businesses, bakers of all different sizes. And so really, what a united front. That's terrific. And so it's going to really make a splash for us. It's going to create some energy and some buzz uh, in Washington, D.C. And it's so exciting that we'll have everyone together.
Absolutely. And we'll have bakers and suppliers together. So maybe, Amit, you could talk just very briefly about the importance of having the full bakery supply chain in the room when we're having discussions about policy.
Great question again, Katie. When we were gathered, especially in the morning meeting, and when you really started to understand the depth and the breadth of information in that room, we all brought pieces of the puzzle together. And when we sat down and we started discussing the topics at hand, everybody was able to contribute with information. We had experts being brought in also as speakers. That was really, really great too. So, yeah, it really, really comes together, Katie, very nicely when you really think about that. And the aha moment, I think, for me was when I actually started raising my hand and started talking about the sugar policy and program. And I knew that some of that information also represented thousands of customers Dawn serves each and every single day. And all of those bakers are independent bakers. Maybe they're store owners at times, but they are also feeling the impact of those high price sugar. And ultimately, that impacts their business and their profitability. And that was my voice in the room. And it was just representing those bakers in the room. And once you really realize why you're in the room and what your role is, it's just a life changing experience, really, just to be able to look around you and just say, this is a very special moment. I'm with fellow, bakers here. I have experts in the room. I have the ABA staff that's right next to me. It's really just a great energy, right? Where you all get together, you're in the room and talking about things. And then you quickly realize what your role really is. And every one of us, probably, if you asked, independently, all of the attendees, what they thought and what their role was, you'll get different answers. And that's okay, because we really quickly realized where we can rely on each other. And that was just a pivotal moment for us to be able to say, okay, the second meeting is going to go like this. Are we good with this? And we were going in between offices and buildings, and it was a hot day in DC. But we were just on top of our game, preparing it, just eye contact in the room, making sure that we're giving each other signals. That was just great. It really was an unexpected experience. I felt, I'm just so blessed, really, really just blessed to be a part of this.
I love all of that. Life changing. I love it.
It really was. For me, it was. I've been in the industry 23, 24 years now, but never, ever really got involved on the government affairs side of it. Always have gone through professionals of, the companies I worked for. And, we definitely went to them usually with the various different topics or research or action that we were wanting to get out of it. But being a part of it was a very meaningful in person, just really understanding how it really works was just very, very interesting for me.
Well, I know that we're excited to literally quote you on that. So,
Yeah, we should. We should.
all
Absolutely.
right. Any parting words from you, Lee?
Yes, I would encourage everyone to come to Washington to be at the table and join us on Capitol Hill November 13th through the 15th. We're going to have some wonderful programming. We're going to have some great discussions to get everybody ready. We're going to go up to the Hill. We're also going to have our Baker's Dozen annual award reception, which is a huge hit. We haven't had that since before COVID.
900 plus people.
Yeah.
It is an event that many people ask about.
It's an awesome event. And so it'll be so much fun. And it's another opportunity for our members to engage with members of Congress and their teams. And so just another bite at the bagel, so to speak, to talk about those issues important to us. And then for those that are interested, Ahmet, it sounds like it might be right up your alley. We're going to have our Food Technical Regulatory Affairs group will be meeting after that. So it's going to be a full week in Washington. It's going to be one that no bakers or suppliers will want to miss.
And I'll add our DEI working group is having a conference also on the 15th. Yeah.
That's
so
right.
It sounds like we can count Ahmet in to be one of our salespeople for this, talking it up.
I already booked my flights. I reserved my hotel already. I am pumped, Lee. So I look forward to seeing you in November.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, thank you guys so much for joining the show. And for anybody listening, if you have thoughts about the show or any questions, please email us at hello@americanbakers.org. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts: Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music, and Ghana.